Hello, hello. We are excited today for this episode of the HomeBod podcast. We have a really awesome guest with us, Mr. Crispin Sandford, and he has a unique perspective to share on a lot of different things. His primary thing is he is a business coach and a consultant, and he serves clients all over the world, helping them to scale up. He's obsessed with the benefits of good business organization, which we know is Ashley's love language. And that organization results in dramatic growth. Shocking. Breaking through the plateau is a key goal for many business owners, and Crispin has the system to help owners break through and stay through. Establishing the ideal business setup for any well-established business productive and expanding organization is vital for anyone looking to up level or next level and go beyond that. His business programs will transform any business's operations and turn its owner into a business leader, not just an owner operator, which is super awesome. Crispin's first paying client went from $120,000 a month to $300,000 a month. He helped Mini Cooper of San Jose rise from 12th in the US to number 1 in sales. And it only took him about a year. He rose to VP of Business Development at Bill Good Marketing, where he helped full service financial advisors get on board and double their business or work half as much. He left that role to pursue building his own business and has not looked back since. So welcome, Crispin Sandford.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I need to shorten that bio, maybe. Sorry.
No, you've done a lot of great things.
Well, yeah, the longer she talked, the more the longer she talks, the more interesting it got. So they just keep going.
That's all we got time for. Bye, guys.
You also, now you can stay home and be around and take care, help out with your family and all that, right?
That's absolutely true.
Super cool.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a new world. I don't think it's ever going to be the same again. And I know that the principles I want to apply to business, I help people apply in their lives. And the truth is that we've lost something by leaving home and going to work and being shut off from our family and, staying late at night at the office, and by being forced to be home and having to manage our little angels, we start to realize some of the things that help them help us and help clients too, and help us embrace a fuller, richer life. It's her face. The monitor here is only it's up to her neck, so she looks at it and she can't see her face. So her face is gone.
She's like, my face has disappeared. Yeah, it is. It is a new world, isn't it? But I agree with you. I think it's a good change sometimes for a lot of people. Other people, I think it makes them crazy to be surrounded by their kids all day. But I do think it's possible and important to find a balance with that. My kids know that when I'm in my office and the door is closed, that I'm working, and that unless it's like on fire. So my girlfriend has a saying, I can't remember, it's 4 or 5 B's, but it's bleeding, burning, broken, or barfing. 4 B's. If it's not one of the 4 B's, handle it. If you're just bickering with your sibling or whatever, so we definitely all have to navigate that. And I think it's given us more patience and understanding. I think that it's become not so much acceptable, but understandable. If you get interrupted by a dog barking or a kid crying or whatever, 2 years ago, if you were working from home, it had to be silent. It had to be, a very professional thing. And if that happened, it was like mortifying. Now it's like, yeah, happened to me last week.
It's really true. So I was preparing the release of a major workshop. I had been delivering it, one-on-one or to business partners. It was called the Business Organization Machine Workshop. And, I built a group up to 1,600 business owners and entrepreneurs from all over the world on Facebook. And so I was surveying them and other groups to get a title. And I ran into several barriers that were common. People felt that they were getting overwhelmed. People felt that they couldn't get organized in business because they would lose important things. It would disrupt things, and they end up just going straight back to trying to get things as terrible as they were quote unquote working. And also, focus. There were the various issues. And when it came to children, my wife is a teacher. She wanted to become a teacher because of our daughter. And when she was sharing with me about what she was learning, she shared this principle of executive function and self-regulation. And it was all very complex and elaborate and all these terms and phrases, but I boiled it down. I like to simplify things. So I said, executive function and self-regulation is the ability to target a negative situation, the steps that will resolve it, or a positive advance that can be made, and the steps to achieve it. And then the self-discipline to go through those steps to a result, no matter what. Like, you handle the emotion, the upset, the difficulty, the screaming, the whatever's happening at work. If you need to change tactics, you do what it takes to get the result anyway.
Right.
And being at home, I really have to learn that myself.
Practice what you preach.
I've got to practice what I preach. One of the most recent benefits has been, you've got to be innovative when you're coming up with why they have to do something or don't do something, or why you have to resolve a situation. But that's true with staff. That's true with staff. That's true with clients. Mm-hmm. So one of the latest benefits I've gotten is really trying to work out an innovative, clever, smart way to get to the result, to get the client to the result, to get the client to do the work, to resolve the upset. And that is a skill at work as well as at home.
Yes, it is.
And I think it's brilliant because that's exactly, as a business owner, that's how you get clients, is you make it so easy for people to work with you that they hire you, they bring you on. And we want to be able to do the same thing with our children, make it easy enough for them to understand, to be able to cope. We want to be able to do the same thing for ourselves in our business, to set ourselves up for success, that it's easy enough to go to work every day, that we actually want to go to work every day. And I love that you brought up the executive function part of our brains, because dealing with my children with low executive functions in certain areas, are there 8 or 9, Crispin? Remind me.
Well, there's a list of maybe even 13 actually, but
gotcha. Okay.
I reduced it to simplify it. I can send you the article. There's a Harvard article that I used as my baseline, so then I can give that to you so you can post it.
Yeah, please do, and we'll put it in the show notes. But the more I studied about it to figure out my own kids, the more I went, holy cow! It was eye-opening to see where I excelled. Organization is an actual executive function, and I have a child who is in the 1st percentile for organization. I have another child who is in the 50th percentile for organization. And I thought, oh my word, we have this range of superpowers and deficits, and we need to be able to set ourselves up for success in our businesses. And so I'm super intrigued to continue this conversation, because my mom always said growing up, she said, I ran my household like a business. She was always mom. She was always warm and friendly. But you cross a certain line, you push Mama Bear in the wrong direction, and she flips into what we call the godmother gene. In other words, she got stuff done, and she got it done fast and efficiently, and you didn't mess with her. But I could see how she could run the household like a business. And that was never one of my strengths. I couldn't see that. I couldn't understand that. So, Crispin, talk to us more about how we mesh the two together and how we take business strategies and make it work in our home life as well.
Well, okay. So one of the tools I developed was what I call an active file, right? So that's a file. I've got a project I want to get done, right? It's got to be a significant target that I want to get done. If it's something I can just check off, I put it on my to-do list and do it and check it off. But then I have what I call an establishment, productivity, and expansion folder. I can't come in. She can stay. It's no big deal. So that's what I call an EPE folder, right? So the same significant target with an EPE tag on it: establishment, productivity, and expansion. But 20 years ago, I isolated those 3 things as key to management, right? If you're not doing one of those 3 things, you're not managing. So then you start to write your plan, you start to develop the ways in which you're going to hit each of the targets that you need to achieve. So this is a great business tool. It keeps you on track, you keep your notes, you can refer back to them, you can see the origin of this project. But I also do that, like for my daughter. I have an active file for her optimum state: morning, afternoon, evening. There's the things we've got to do in the morning. She drinks prune juice. She's got to have breakfast. She's got to be online at 8:45 for class. And afternoon schedule, that's the second target. And then the evening schedule. There are just different things. She's got to go potty. You got to go potty at noon, right? There are all these different things that need to be achieved. And because I'm looking at like a project in business with a list of items that I need to check off each day to make sure I execute them, it enables me to be better on top of those things that are just one of the things you just have to remember in life. If you don't write it down as like a checklist, if you don't have a folder that you're actively working towards achieving and maintaining the results of this significant target of having her be in an optimum state.
I fully agree with that. So when I had my son, I, did what I do, which is dive into books to find out how to be the very best parent on the planet. And because I don't like to do things wrong, right? I don't make mistakes, damn it. I do things correctly every time. And I was going to nail this parenting thing. And so I dove into books, and one of the things that shook out of all the books was a schedule. You've got to have your baby on a schedule. You got to have your kids on a schedule. Kids like structure, blah, 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 blah. So when I went back to work, I established a schedule immediately. And I was only on maternity leave for like 6 weeks. I didn't have the blessing of a very long maternity leave. And so my mother-in-law came and stayed with me. God bless her. I gave her my schedule and I was like, you have to follow it. And she looked at me like I had 12 heads. She's like, I've raised 4 kids, never had a schedule. A baby is a baby. And you can imagine when I got home, how happy I was.
Do we need a reminder of self-regulation? I think we need a self-regulation.
So what I learned was you can't control everything, especially when you're not in the room. And that babies survive without a schedule, but it's not very pleasant. And so eventually she came around and she started to see, because I would come home, I was nursing, and I was like, give me the baby. And she's like, oh, I just gave him a bottle. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill you. So I go, be a cow and milk myself, and it's awful. And, but she started to kind of figure it out when she was like, oh, he sleeps through the night at 9 weeks old? What? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, oh, he's so well behaved when he was older, And so she started to kind of get it. And I think it's so critical, whether it's for a toddler or a baby or a school-age child, like having a schedule and a routine, it's important. There's a reason why adults have agendas and time management tools, because we need a plan. We need to know what's happening.
It's true. You've identified another thing there too. So I had this joke at a company I worked at, I won't say when, to protect the innocent. But I worked there, and I one time there was this new release, and we had to start delivering, and this person said on the call, like once the executive had left the call, said, well, like, oh my word, like, wow. And I'm like, yep. And I named the company Breaking News every day, every hour. And the company operated, breaking news. Everything was all now and sudden, and you can't work like that. Now, in a proper company, staff are trained, they're prepared, the materials are ready, you're familiarized with the campaign, everybody goes in, we're all indoctrinated, trained, drill, you do the whole part trust, passing a ball around the room and realizing that you're doing the work that goes on to somebody else. You do all this stuff to ensure you're ready. Now, extreme ownership would say, Heather, that you are responsible for training and preparing your mother, your grandmother, your husband, the neighbor, whoever's going to be responsible for that kid needs to be indoctrinated, needs to be trained.
Right.
We went to school, we made a Dropbox, I think it was a Google Drive, and we made videos and downloaded documents about how to handle and look after our daughter and how to address situations. And they really appreciated it.
Because she has some unique needs and
right. Well, she's on the spectrum for sure. And that makes it extra difficult,
Which is really cool because I actually have had some clients that I teach skiing, and I haven't found out that their kids were on the spectrum or had specific learning needs until way late in the game. And had they just told me, everyone's experience would have been better, but a lot of times I think people hesitate because they just want to be treated normally. But it's like, why not give people the tools to function in an optimal setting, right? If you know that, having lunch at 11:30 every day makes you happy and makes your brain good, but then, you schedule lunch for 12:30 every day and you spend an hour with low blood sugar and you can't think, are you optimizing your day? Are you being smart? Would you do that with a 3-year-old? Probably not, because they'd start freaking out. Well, people don't realize that inside we're still 3. And when we're hungry, we freak out.
One of the things that I've learned about establishing a system and a routine within a business and within a home is that first and foremost, it establishes a safety net. My son is one that will push and push and push against a brick wall. And if you move that brick wall back, he will continue to push and push and push just to see how far back he can make you move that wall. But if you stand firm and steady, he stops pushing because he knows that he's safe and secure in where he is. And with employees, with yourself, if you're a solopreneur, setting those limits and those boundaries is a safety net to know this box is what I'm working within. And I can do anything that I need to within this box, but I know that I've got everything contained. So if we're dealing with employees, if we're dealing with children, if we're dealing with anything, they need to know what those boundaries are, because then we can say, this is where you are safe. And this is what I expect of you. You can do anything within these boundaries, but this is what I expect of you, to stay within the boundaries. But then if we need to break that routine, if we need to shift the boundaries, even for a day, everybody knows that we can trust each other because we've been able to live within these boundaries and parameters. We can trust each other to be able to say, okay, I got your back if you've got mine. Mm-hmm. And we can break the system for a day. Hello, retail stores at Christmas. Like, we bring in all these other employees, we change, we shift, New Year's and things like that, where we're staying up late for celebrating and whatever, we're keeping our kids up late.
They all know they can fall back, or
we can fall
eventually
back
to your
exactly
normal. Yeah,
exactly.
What I was thinking too is that it helps with stress. Like, if you have that safe boundary, you don't get stressed out, you don't get overwhelmed. But when there are no boundaries, and it's just kind of like I was just thinking about a year ago when everybody got sent home to work at home, and your home life and your family life was just like spilling over one another and overlapping. And they actually came out and said people were working more hours once the world shut down than they were prior to, because there were no boundaries, right? Because you're at home and your computer's right there. And so you just keep working. And I know for myself, I had to set a deadline, like 5 p.m. the computer goes off, because I found myself doing that too. and it increases the stress level of everyone in the house. It increases the stress level of everyone in the office if there aren't boundaries. So yeah, I think all in all, the whole thing, it's just got to be, structure is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I worked at home after 6 months. She was 6 months old, and I got the job to work from home. That was many years ago now, 2013, I think. And yeah, I was working late. I was getting into my desk early. I had a morning call every morning with the head of the company. And, you know, I was just work. It's funny to me, but I had to remember, because they wanted me, though I was salaried and plus bonuses, but they wanted me to clock in and clock out. And they were getting annoyed with me going over the hours or clocking in early. And I'm like, I had to clock in. I had to remember to clock in when I started and clock out when I ended, so that my hours were right. And I just didn't understand it. But
But
again,
you were on a salary.
I know I did, but some people are strange. I learned so much about how to help somebody build their company. I'll tell you this, that it was shocking to me. I realized I had to not be in the company to make the changes. Like, I had to be a coach, a consultant, right? I don't think you can do what I do from inside the company, because I tried. I had a client for a year who had me do work for them, but they knew me, and he was an executive, but he wasn't the boss. And I could not believe that even my friend, even with all my experience, he had worked under me for many years, and we had so many successes. He was very impressed with what I did and how I got results. And we were on a sales call, and he would just be like, "Oh, you blew my mind. That was amazing." But when I was his junior, and when there was an owner of the company above him, I could not get the business principles applied. It was like, it was unbelievable. And I said, that is the last time I ever work for somebody. They were paying me as a consultant, but they were viewing me as an employee.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm never, ever doing that again. Like, the person has to have gone through certain basic courses. They have to have established a certain level of demonstrated competency in the area of organization before I make them a full-on client where I'm there every day, because it was impossible. I was shocked.
Well, that just speaks to hiring a coach, right? Hiring a teacher. I mean, like, I didn't teach my kids to ski very much. I put them with other people. Like, I did teach them, but I don't coach my daughter now. She has other coaches, like, because I think when you're too closely connected, it doesn't work. Like, I don't give advice to my family other than my husband. He's good at listening, but the rest of them don't listen. But he comes at it with the right mind space, right? So that just speaks to why it's important to hire a business coach, hire a professional organizer. You can't go and like have your sister help you organize your closet. It's not going to end well.
Right. And the trouble is that the owner was viewing me as an employee.
Right.
Because I was working with them full time. And I assumed that, you know, because this guy that was beneath him, he was, you know, the managing director, but he was my friend, that he was going to protect me and he was going to push these things through. And I was shocked that didn't happen. So what I realized in retrospect is that, like I said, I needed to ensure that he had been indoctrinated, that he had established a certain level of competency from a distance, right? Like, come to my workshop, do it. You don't have to apply it. I check in with you. You didn't apply it. And then you applied it. And then 6 months later, how's this going? He's like, oh my word, I'm really applying this and it's really working. Oh, it's fantastic. You know, then I'm promoting and they go, I want to do your proactive marketing relationships or proactive relationship marketing. Yeah. I want to do that course. And then they do it and they're adopting and they're learning these principles, and some they're not. And then eventually they come around and like, go, oh, this is amazing. You know, and then finally they come to where I'm going to start establishing the structure that I was talking about that he wouldn't apply. And then he's like, oh, this is great. Let's do this. This really helps. You need to come in. We need you full time, great. Okay, then I'll do it. Because it was a mistake to do it any other way. And about the friends stuff, right? My proactive relationship marketing, I deal with any contact. I tell people to take any contact, but you need to find out where they're at. If they're your friend, but they're never going to do your Rethink Clutter, they're never going to do your HomeBod program, but they're your friend, you don't try to sell them. You don't try to teach them. You don't try to educate them. You just know that's where they're at, right?
Right.
But all of a sudden, I had a guy I hadn't seen in let's see, it must have been 12 years. I met him one time. He gave me this quote. I scanned it because I'm an organization freak. Me and Ashley, we've got the same
cut out of the same cloth.
Right. But when I was overlooking it, as I was going through my materials, I had scanned it, but I had the front side where he had this Japanese quote and had written it in English. And then he'd written his name on the back. I looked for him on Facebook. Boom. He's right there. I recognize him. We have a conversation. We have a follow-up conversation. He gets his friend on the phone. I meet with that guy. We do a one-to-one BNI style, if you're familiar with BNI. I know you are, Heather. You're in BNI, are you actually or not?
I've come to visit on occasion.
Oh, okay, no worries.
I'm not in it.
So I did a one-to-one, finding out about them and their business, then finding about me and my business and who our ideal client is, like how can we help each other? This guy agreed. I closed this guy on $12,500.
Woo! There you go.
That's because I correctly treated this individual.
Yes.
We're reconnecting. We're a friend.
You established the relationship.
Yeah. This guy who he thinks I need to meet. He really wanted to work with me.
Yeah.
Close, right? So that some people, when you're dealing with friends or relationships, you got to correctly address where they're at and who they are and if they're interested or not. And just like you, Heather, you're an expert. You view me as an expert. Here I am. I'm on your podcast because we're treating each other in a natural, organic way.
Right. I love that. So you have some extra different approaches too that you've applied to your life structurally to make life easier for you that falls more into my sandbox, which is nutritional changes you've made. And so you mentioned your daughter's on the spectrum.
Right.
And I have found that most kids who have behavioral issues or, stuff like that, they are very sensitive to what they eat.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are very, very, very sensitive to processed food, to colors, to added things.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people, just friends that I've talked to, and they're like, oh, my kid, he has ADD and he has this and he has that. And I suggest that they eliminate certain things from their diet.
They have to
come back and they're like, whoa. And you've discovered that, right? So
yeah, we still do. We still run into stuff.
So would you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, but the fundamental principle is that, when I'm working with a client, first thing I do is I get them to organize their business according to a core business structure. Executive section, administration, client marketing, finance, production and delivery, quality control and business development. Then I get them to document the practices that they adopt now. And, one person I was meeting with, a consulting client, I was meeting with him and he said, well, no, I want you to teach me like new marketing stuff. And I go, I've seen your business. Like you've got hundreds of clients, you've got a staff of 50. How many events did you have last year? Like, what are some of your best events? And he told me his best events. And I said, well, how many did you do this year? Oh, well, it was difficult this year, maybe one. I said, okay, how many last year? Oh, well, actually only 3. And the year before, well, we had more that year, 5. I said, you could be doing events every single month, targeting each separate group. You could be doing events that cross over, payroll clients with CPA clients, with financial advisor clients. just with the practices, the marketing practices that you already have, the campaigns you already have. If you do it in an orderly fashion, you could quadruple your business, let alone double your business. And he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So what I'm saying is this, is the same thing at home, is that, you know, when you're looking at problems, you have to isolate the problem and what's causing the problem. In this case, we realized it was food was causing so many problems. We eradicated dairy, massive change. We eradicated gluten, change. We thought peanut butter and dairy had been a problem before, and we kind of had removed them. But, you know, I think we kind of reintroduced them. They didn't seem to be the cause. But when we got like, no, let's do this business. Let's checklist, let's timeline, let's what the changes are. And we readdressed dairy, we readdressed peanut butter and saw the results. Now in business, it's all about the results. So your client's getting the results. In your business, is our business growing? Is it expanding? Is our profits going up, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you do that, you know, I did that with myself. And I when I removed dairy, when I had been exercising, you know, regularly, I'd been running regularly. But then when I realized, you know, I'd hit a plateau myself, I was like, well, maybe I need to address my diet, which is very reluctant to do. But I eradicated dairy, which was very difficult. Cheese, I love cheese, you know, cheese omelets, cheese on toast, you know, but it doesn't matter. Professional results. By eradicating certain things from my diet, within a few months, I lost 25 pounds.
Wow.
Just from taking dairy out.
Just from eradicating, it was dairy, and later gluten, and what was the other thing? It was mainly dairy, getting rid of dairy.
Yeah. People don't realize that dairy and grains are incredibly inflammatory to most of us. And I actually just
bread as well. It was dairy and bread.
Yeah. So yeah. So our bodies create this reaction. And you hear the word inflammation tossed around a lot. And I don't think it's really understood. But basically, if you think of your immune system as an alarm system in a house, right? If someone tries to open the window, the alarm system goes off. Your alarm system in your body is going off every time you consume dairy, because your body doesn't like dairy. So while the alarm is going off, nothing else can happen, right? We can't sleep. We can't think. The only thing we can do is figure out where the intrusion is and get the alarm turned off. Your body's alarm is going off months, years. And what happens is your body tries to fight it. It's trying to fix it. It's trying to put out the fire. In the meantime, it's not doing all the other things it needs to be doing. So you're storing fat because it's trying to protect itself. You're not building muscle because building muscle doesn't help protect you. And your brain doesn't function well. So you get foggy brained because our body doesn't feel like our brain is important, which is kind of funny. But for survival reasons, your brain is not important. Your blood pressure comes up. It's trying to pump blood harder, faster to fix the problem. And so this chronic inflammation that you hear tossed around, it basically is just you're stressing your body out for hours and days and weeks. And when you eliminate it and your body finally can go, the alarm is off. Oh shit. Sorry. Did I turn on? Oh, I thought I hit the off button. Dropped a little nugget there.
We'll edit it out.
Anyway, so your body is like, oh, the alarm's off. We can finally get some peace. We can finally get back to regular life. And the systems come up and they start working again, and they start burning fat, and you start building muscle, and your brain suddenly is clear. It's amazing. And so the weight loss is awesome, but I imagine you probably felt clarity. You probably felt energized. Like, I can't even imagine the difference probably.
Yeah, there were many benefits. I was taking vitamins to handle fatigue at 2:00. I'd gotten to 3 to 5 Red Bulls a day.
Yep.
Where I got through the day. It was not good. So I was taking B12 because of that. But I was still noticing that, I was looking for things. But once I got rid of dairy and bread, basically, I was in much better shape. I feel healthier. My skin is flush from healthiness, I think. I mean, I'm not a bastion by any measure of what to live up to. I don't want to oversell myself.
Right. But you feel great and you look great. And so
thank you. Yeah.
And suddenly I bet you don't even desire that caffeine because your body.
I have 1 cup of coffee. I have 1 cup of coffee a day, but I don't do any milk in it. No sugar. Right.
Right. Which is fine. But you're not like jonesing for caffeine at 2:00 and like,
correct.
Drifting off at your desk.
Right. And I can forget to take my B12 for energy, B complex, for energy. And it's okay, but I think, I think ultimately that if an individual addresses their business professionally, they will have expansion and success. I think if an individual applies business principles to their life, to their personal life, and are just only focused on getting results, the benefits and the positive results, they'll also make similar changes and get the benefits. And it's, not everybody. I have clients that don't want to do exercise routines and don't want to go for walks and don't want to quit dairy, no matter how many times I mention losing 25 pounds. I've got one client in particular, but again, he is a tough nut to crack in that area. And also, again, it's not my life. His business is growing and he's expanding and he's almost at the point where he's turned over all day-to-day work and management. So I'm still doing my job and he's still giving me the money for a result. But if he would, and if some of your audience members would learn from you in terms of getting the kind of results you can get by being professional at work to their life, they're going to get the results they want. Simple as that. It's just a fact. One of my sayings is, if you do the work, you'll get the results. Simple as that. It's mechanical.
And I love the idea that for those of us who are in business, we understand that it's not it can't be a roller coaster type of infusion of energy. It has to be constant. It has to be consistent. We have to be dedicated to those systems that are going to help us, because there are shortcuts. And for the people in life who say, this adulting thing is just overrated, and they take all the shortcuts that they possibly can, you're going to see that, we're going to yo-yo diet more often than not. We're going to have a catch drawer that turns into a catch room of all the things, because we just took the shortcut. We aren't successful in business. We aren't seeing the results that we want to see because, we're only hosting, a conference once a year instead of 12 times a year. I mean, there are shortcuts that we can take, but if we can be dedicated, if we can understand the systems that we can put in place and treat our home life like how we treat the intensity and the boundaries and the structure of a successful business, then those shortcuts go away and we can work through them, and we can have, the amazing business and the amazing body and the amazing family. I mean, it's all about the relationships that we can build in business and in our personal lives. So if we stop taking the shortcuts, a business that takes shortcuts will fail.
Yeah.
And a household or a person that takes shortcuts will not see the results. So if we really are results driven, like how a business is and should be, then if we apply those same lessons into our personal life, we're going to see the results, and we're going to dig into the nitty gritty, and that's going to make all the difference in our level of success.
I just realized that your catch room thing, like, just, I had a light bulb, and maybe I'm slow to jump on this, but the equivalent of massively like decluttering your house and spring cleaning and making it all nice once a year and then letting it all go to hell is the exact same thing as the yo-yo dieter. And it's the exact same thing as the business owner that this month I'm doing all this and they're all over Facebook and they're marketing like crazy. And then it's crickets.
Nothing.
Yeah, there was this one marketing principle that I learned. I mean, I've learned many, but from Jay Abraham, right? And he said, there I like to look a certain way. Right? What that means is I go to the hairdressers, he said, like, every 7 or 8 days, like once a week, right? And it's minor, but he said, if you're a hairdresser and you talk to your clients about getting a membership instead of coming every 3 months, or, he said, when you've got an optimum haircut, right? You come to the hairdressers, you get the haircut, it gets blown out. You go to your next meeting, you're showing a house, or you've got a corporate presentation. You feel like $1 million. You look like $1 million, and it translates. Oh no, that's awful. Oh
that
no,
is hurting.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like it's hurting, but you get that close. You get that approval from head office, and your life is great. Why would you not maintain that optimum hairstyle, that feeling, I look amazing, get your hair blown out, right? Why wouldn't you maintain it, not just once every 6 months or once every 3 months, but like every day, every week, every month, every year? Like you said, you don't just go into that room and declutter once. You declutter, you take Ashley's extra class, and you learn the discipline of maintaining that quality of a household. And you stay in the membership group where she will pump you up and get you going and keeps you active, so that you then no longer have to climb that mountain to clean that room. You actually establish practices of maintaining your house at a certain level. You maintain practices with Heather of a certain level of fitness and healthiness. And now it's a no-brainer. You just do it as a normal part of your habit. And you operate at that optimum level at all times. That's the way to be. Don't do it once a year. Maintain it as a standard operating basis.
Oh, preach.
Slow clap.
Preach. I love it. Now you can see why he's such a good coach. You want your business to make money, you run at optimum level all the time, every day. I love it.
Right. And again, that's just implementing that program, like a program like that into your own business, where you sell people on the idea that, look, I'm helping to transform you, and that's why you need this ongoing program. Now, obviously, that's going to dramatically impact your bottom line, Heather, your bottom line, Ashley, and anyone else who applies that principle. And the reason to do it is because you then experience every day the kind of life you want to live.
Right. I love it.
Goosebumps. So that's when we know that we're done with the conversation. When we reach the point of goosebumps, we've hit it. We've hit the peak.
We have hit it.
And why you're ahead, right?
Right. So there we go. So Crispin, thank you so much. We will link, if you send us that link of the article that you quoted earlier, we'll get that in the show notes. But also, if people want to connect with you or have someone to connect to you, what's the best way for us to get a hold of you?
So I have a group in Facebook. I'll give you the link to the show notes. It's #Empire Management Mastermind Group.
She's eating black
but also,
and she's eating some pink food.
Yeah, pink and black food. But also Crispin at proactivebusinessmanagement.com.
Cool.
Will get to me directly.
Cool.
But yeah, I've got my Crispin Sandford on Instagram and Crispin Sandford on Twitter. I did it early enough, and it's a rare enough name that I have my name on these social platforms. And I'd love to help you. Now, there are 7 principles, just like you said. And there's an article for the 7 executive functioning skills your child should have. But I'm going to attach this one and the Harvard one, which goes into more detail. But I isolated more than just 7 principles for myself. And then I'll also give you my practical definition for executive function and self-regulation as a document that I made.
Very cool.
And so there you go.
I'm excited to dig into that. Really, honestly, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Awesome.
Kind of a brain junkie over here. Thank you so much, Crispin, for your time, your expertise. just keep adding on to the bio. The longer it gets, the more fascinating it is. So just keep going.
Well, I'll have to do that. I'll have to do that. Thank you so much, guys. What a pleasure. It really was a conversation. I really enjoyed it. I really love talking with you. And it's the difference between an expert and somebody who's not an expert is huge. And thank you for my assistant and putting up with my executive assistant. My executive,
There you go. There you go.
My executive coach.
Yes.
I've learned so much. It's quantifiable, the amount I've learned.
That's why we're given the children we are, is because they're supposed to teach us something.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I have 3 executive teachers and they all teach me something different.
Right. It's a different look, isn't it, Ashley? Right. Isn't that a different way to look at it?
It's true. It's like,
that's my teacher right there.
No, but it's so true.
I have, every incompetence I have, they're exploiting. And unless I learn it, how to be competent in that each of those specific areas, I'm going to get overwhelmed with, I'm going to be beaten to the point where I'm totally overwhelmed. But if you actually take the time to learn the lesson and adopt the principle and establish a competency, you're a better parent, you're a better friend, you're a better coach, you're a better teacher, you're a better boss, etc. So on that note, au revoir, and thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure. I'm going to have you guys on my group too.
Yes.
My podcast, and also, we'll have to do something in my group. You and I, Ashley, we did one about a year ago, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. It's been a while. I
think it's time for a new one, for another one.
Deal.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.